The vast expanse of space stretched endlessly, a silent backdrop to the impending conflict. Stars, distant galaxies, and planets dotted the universe, but among these celestial wonders hovered a colossal fleet near the pale blue planet of Haven. The fleet, consisting of titanic warships, gleamed menacingly in the soft light of the nearby star. Each vessel, a testament to military engineering, was built for a singular purpose: war. Haven, once a peaceful world on the outer rim of the galaxy, had now become the focal point of a galactic conflict. A tranquil planet of beauty in abundance, Haven was known for its breathtaking landscapes, shimmering oceans, and peaceful inhabitants. But beneath the surface of this quiet paradise lay the galaxy's most coveted resource, Illyrium. This rare and valuable mineral was essential for faster-than-light travel, energy weaponry, and shielding technology. Control of Haven meant control of Illyrium, and thus, control of the galaxy's future. Commander Valen Terrace stood on the bridge of the Elysium, the flagship of the Galactic Union's Fifth Fleet. A seasoned veteran of countless battles, Valen's experience had earned him the respect of his peers, but the odds were against him now. The Imperium, an expansive and ruthless galactic empire, had assembled an overwhelming fleet to claim Haven for themselves. Their flagship, the Resolute, a massive, planet-killer-class warship, led the armada, ready to rain destruction upon the Union's forces. Lieutenant Rhea, Valen's trusted second-in-command, approached him, her face etched with concern. "Commander, the Imperium's fleet is closing in. Their numbers. They're overwhelming." Valen's jaw tightened as he turned toward the massive viewport. "How many ships are we facing?" 200 capital ships, supported by thousands of smaller vessels, Rhea replied, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We're outnumbered more than 2-1. Valen stared at the display before him, watching the countless red dots, Imperium ships, approach Haven. His fleet, significantly smaller in comparison, stood between them and the planet. "We don't need to defeat them all," he said quietly, "just hold them off long enough for reinforcements to arrive." "But, Commander, the reinforcements are still hours away," Rhea reminded him. "If we don't stop them here, Haven is lost." "We'll stop them," Valen said with conviction, though even he felt the weight of the task ahead. The two fleets now floated in space, poised for battle. The tension was palpable. Then, without warning, the Imperium made their move. Bright flashes of light erupted as the enemy ships opened fire, launching a barrage of energy torpedoes and plasma beams toward the Union fleet. The Elysium rocked violently as the first wave of torpedoes slammed into its shields, sending shockwaves through the ship. "Shields holding at 87%, Rhea reported, her hands moving quickly across her console. "Return fire." Valen ordered, his voice calm and steady amid the chaos. The Elysium fired back, its forward cannons releasing massive beams of energy that cut through the darkness of space. Other Union ships followed suit, launching volleys of missiles and torpedoes at the approaching enemy. The space between the two fleets became a hellish crossfire of energy blasts and explosions. Several of the Imperium's ships exploded, their shields overwhelmed by the Union's counterattack. But the Imperium's forces retaliated with equal ferocity. Union frigates and cruisers were vaporized as plasma beams sliced through their shields and tore apart their hulls. "We've lost the Solstice and the Vanguard," one of the tactical officers shouted over the commotion. Valen's fist clenched. "Pull the fleet into defensive formation. Draw them closer to Haven's orbital defense platforms." Haven's defenses were formidable, consisting of hundreds of orbital platforms equipped with powerful energy weapons and anti-ship missiles. As the Imperium's fleet advanced, the platforms came to life, launching waves of missiles and beams of concentrated energy at the approaching ships. Several enemy vessels were destroyed instantly, their shields failing under the intense firepower. On the planet's surface, General Karina Sol, the leader of Haven's planetary defense forces, stood in the command center, her eyes fixed on the holographic display of the battle above. "We can't let the Imperium take Haven," she muttered. "If we fall, the Union falls." "General, the orbital platforms are fully online," her subordinate reported. "Good. Have them target the Imperium's flagship," Karina ordered, her voice determined. "We need to bring down the Resolute before it gets too close." The orbital platforms turned their weapons toward the massive ship. The Resolute was an imposing sight, its sheer size dwarfing everything around it. Its shields glowed faintly as the platforms fired, sending torrents of energy and missile strikes toward the behemoth. The flagship shook under the assault, its shields flickering but holding. Valen watched the battle unfold from the Elysium, his eyes fixed on the Resolute. "We need to take out that ship. If it breaks through, Haven is finished. Our shields are down to 42%, and we've used up most of our torpedoes," Rhea informed him. "We can't hold out much longer." Valen's mind raced as he considered their options. "Prepare all remaining fighters for a strike run on the Resolute," he ordered. "We'll cover them from here." Hundreds of Union fighters launched from their carriers, streaking through the battlefield like swarms of angry hornets. Their target, the Resolute. Among them was Captain Jax Merrick, a veteran pilot and leader of the elite Black Squadron. His hands gripped the controls of his fighter, his eyes scanning the chaotic battle as he led his team toward the enemy flagship. "All wings, lock onto the primary shield generators," Jax commanded. "This is our only shot." The fighters weaved through the debris-filled space, dodging enemy fire as they closed in on the Resolute. Its massive cannons fired at the incoming fighters, destroying several, but the majority pressed on. Missiles locked, Jax called out over the comm, "Fire." Dozens of missiles launched from the fighters, streaking toward the Resolute in a blaze of light. The enemy ship's point defense systems sprang to life, shooting down several of the missiles, but a few broke through. The explosions rippled across the flagship's shields, causing them to flicker and, finally, fail. "We've breached the shields," Jax shouted. "Hit it with everything you've got." The fighters unleashed a barrage of torpedoes and missiles, targeting the now exposed hull of the Resolute. Explosions rocked the ship as fire and debris erupted from its surface. But even as the flagship was pummeled, it continued its relentless advance toward Haven. "Commander, the Resolute is still operational," Rhea said, frustration evident in her voice. "They're going to break through." Valen stared at the display, his heart pounding. "Not if we hit them first," he said, his voice steady. "All ships, focus fire on the Resolute. We have to take it down." The Union fleet redirected all their firepower toward the Imperium's flagship. Beams of energy and missile salvos rained down on the ship, overwhelming its already crippled defenses. The hull began to buckle under the strain, and fires raged across its surface. Then, with a deafening explosion, the Resolute was torn apart, its pieces scattering across the battlefield. A cheer erupted on the bridge of the Elysium. Valen allowed himself a brief moment of relief. "We did it," he said softly. But the battle was far from over. Though the Resolute had been destroyed, the Imperium's fleet still outnumbered the Union forces, and they were regrouping for another attack. "Commander, the Imperium is pulling back," Rhea said, her voice laced with surprise. "They're retreating." Valen turned to her, confusion on his face. "Why would they retreat now?" Before she could respond, a new force arrived on the battlefield. From the far side of the system, a second Union fleet entered the fray. Reinforcements had finally arrived. Led by Admiral Theron Darnell, the fleet consisted of hundreds of warships, including several of the Union's most advanced capital ships. Valen breathed a sigh of relief as the reinforcements moved into position. "We're not alone anymore." The combined Union forces quickly overwhelmed the remaining Imperium ships, forcing them into a full retreat. One by one, the enemy vessels activated their jump drives, fleeing back to Imperium territory. The battle for Haven was over. On the planet's surface, the people of Haven looked up at the now clear sky, their fear giving way to celebration. They had survived the onslaught, and their planet remained free. Valen stood on the bridge of the Elysium, gazing out at the debris-strewn space around him. The cost had been high, many ships and lives had been lost, but Haven was safe. For now. We've won today, Rhea said quietly, standing beside him. But the Imperium will be back. Valen nodded, his gaze distant. Yes, they will. But next time, we'll be ready. As the Elysium sailed through the remnants of the battlefield, Valen couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The war for control of the galaxy's future had just begun, and Haven, with its precious Illyrium, was at the heart of it all. And so, as the Union celebrated their hard-fought victory, Valen prepared for the next battle, one that would decide the fate of not just Haven, but the entire galaxy.